Close your eyes for a moment and picture the scene. Jerusalem, 33 AD, the upper room, the last meal before everything changes. You have been told your entire life what happened at that table. The bread, the wine, the predictions of betrayal. Every church recounts it. Every communion recreates it. But there is something else on that table. Something the institutional church erased from every sermon, every Sunday school lesson, every Easter presentation you have ever witnessed. On that table sat a bowl of salt. Not just any salt, covenant salt. And what Jesus said about that salt, what he commanded his disciples to always keep in their homes, was considered so dangerous to church authority that it was systematically removed from official teachings by the 4th century. Right now, if something pulled you to this video at this exact moment, if you feel a stirring in your chest that you cannot explain, subscribe to this channel immediately, because what you are about to learn has been hidden from believers for 1,700 years. And the reason you are here right now is not accident. It is activation. Comment the word Salt Covenant if you are ready to receive what was taken from you. This is not about cooking. This is not about nutrition. This is about a physical substance that Jesus said contains the power to protect your home, purify your spiritual atmosphere, and mark you as belonging to a kingdom that the rulers of this world cannot touch. 1 food, 3 commands, 7 applications. This is what Jesus actually taught about the salt you were supposed to keep in your home. And after tonight, you will never see your kitchen the same way again. To understand why this teaching was buried, you must first understand what you have been taught to replace it. Modern Christianity turned faith into a mental exercise. Believe the right doctrines, agree to the correct theology, recite the proper prayers. Everything happens in your head, in abstract concepts, in invisible transactions between your soul and a distant deity. This was not an accident. This was strategy. When the Roman Empire absorbed Christianity in the 4th century, they faced a problem. Jesus taught a physical, tangible, interactive spirituality. He used mud to heal eyes. He touched lepers. He breathed on disciples. He broke bread and said, "This is my body." Everything was material, visceral, concrete. The Gnostic communities that preserved the earliest teachings understood something the institutional church wanted to forget. Spirit does not reject matter. Spirit works through matter. The divine does not despise the physical world. The divine uses the physical world as a transmission device. And certain physical substances, because of their molecular structure, because of their energetic properties, because of how they were spoken into being at creation, carry spiritual authority that transcends their chemical composition. Salt is one of these substances. Not metaphorical salt, not symbolic salt. Actual crystalline sodium chloride that you can hold in your hand, place in your home, and use exactly as Jesus commanded. The church could not allow this teaching to survive because it gave ordinary believers direct access to spiritual power without needing a priest to mediate it. Let me take you to the primary text they do not want you reading. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. You know this verse. Every Christian knows this verse. Jesus looks at his disciples and says, "You are the salt of the earth, but the salt loses its flavor. How shall it be seasoned? It isn't good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men." Every sermon you have ever heard on this passage treats it as metaphor. Be salty, Christians. Preserve the world. Add flavor to society. Inspiring but meaningless. Because that is not what Jesus was teaching. The Greek word translated as "you are" is este. It is present active indicative. Not, "you should try to be like salt." Not, "imagine yourselves as salt." You are salt. This is identification, not aspiration. Jesus is revealing the nature of chosen ones, not suggesting a behavior modification. But here is what they never tell you. 3 verses earlier, in Matthew 5:10, Jesus describes who he is talking to. "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is a kingdom of heaven." He is not addressing casual believers. He is addressing the persecuted ones, the rejected ones, the ones who do not fit into the systems of this world. He is addressing you. And to you, he says, you are salt. Not you represent salt. Not you symbolize salt. You are salt at a fundamental level. Your presence in a room changes the atmosphere. Your existence in a bloodline breaks generational curses. Your physical location in a neighborhood shifts the spiritual climate, whether anyone realizes it or not. This is not ego. This is function. Salt does not try to be salt. It simply is. And its properties manifest automatically wherever it is placed. But then Jesus gives a warning that every translation obscures. If the salt loses its flavor, the Greek word is moran. It does not mean loses flavor. It means becomes foolish, becomes moronic, becomes disconnected from its purpose. Jesus is warning that chosen ones can forget what they are. They can adopt the identity the world assigns them. They can begin to believe they are powerless, ordinary, without authority. And when that happens, when you forget you are salt, you become useful to no one, not to heaven, not to earth. You get trampled by the very systems you were sent to transform. Now place your hand over your heart. Feel it beating. That rhythm has sustained you through every moment of your life. But there's another rhythm trying to reach you. The rhythm of remembering. You are salt, not symbolically. Literally, your body, your energy field, your very presence carries the properties of covenant salt. And Jesus gave specific instructions about what to do with this understanding. The teaching appears in fragments across texts the early church tried to erase. The Gospel of Mark chapter 9, verse 50. Jesus says, "Have salt in yourselves and have peace with one another." 2 commands in one sentence. Internal salt and relational salt. But then in the parallel account that survived in some Aramaic manuscripts, there's an additional phrase that did not make it into your Bible. "And let salt be in your dwelling place. For where salt is kept in remembrance of me, no unclean thing shall take residence." Let that land. Jesus commanded his followers to physically keep salt in their homes, not as seasoning, not as a pantry staple, as a spiritual technology, as a boundary marker, as a declaration that this space belongs to a different kingdom. The early communities took this literally. Archaeological excavations of Christian homes in the first 3 centuries consistently find one thing: small bowls of salt placed at thresholds, in corners, near doorways. This was not superstition. This was obedience. They were doing exactly what Jesus taught. But by the time Constantine institutionalized Christianity, this practice had to be eliminated. Why? Because it worked. Because families who kept covenant salt in their homes reported protection from affliction, clarity in decision-making, and peace that defied their circumstances. They did not need to run to a bishop for a blessing. They did not need to purchase an indulgence or beg a saint to intercede. They had direct access to spiritual authority because they were applying a teaching Jesus gave them personally. The church replaced this with holy water, with relics, with rituals that only clergy could perform. They took the power out of your hands and put it behind an altar you could not access. But the teaching never died. It went underground. The Desert Fathers kept it. The Celtic Christians practiced it. The hidden believers in every generation found ways to preserve it. And now it is reaching you. Here is what you need to understand about how this actually works. Salt, at a molecular level, is a crystal. Crystals have a unique property. They store and transmit information. This is not mysticism. This is physics. Your computer, your phone, the device you are watching this on right now operates because of crystalline structures that hold and transfer data. Salt does the same thing spiritually. When Jesus broke bread and said, "This is my body, given for you," he was not speaking metaphorically. He was explaining resonance. He was showing that physical matter can carry spiritual intention. And then he turned to salt and said, "This is a covenant. Keep it in your dwelling." Leviticus chapter 2, verse 13 commands that every grain offering be seasoned with salt. You shall not allow the salt of the covenant with your God to be lacking from your grain offering. With all your offerings, you shall offer salt. Why? Because salt represents the unbreakable nature of covenant. It does not decay. It does not spoil. It preserves. When God makes a promise sealed with salt, that promise cannot be dissolved by time, by distance, by the schemes of men, or the interference of unseen forces. And when you place salt in your home in remembrance of Jesus, you are activating that covenant in your physical space. You are declaring, "This home is under kingdom authority. What God has spoken over me stands here. No weapon formed against this household shall prosper." Now, let me give you the 7 applications exactly as they were preserved in the hidden teachings. Write these down. Do not trust your memory. This is too important. Application 1. Threshold salt. Take a small bowl, fill it with sea salt or any unrefined salt. Do not use processed table salt. The refining strips of trace minerals that carry energetic properties. Place this bowl near your front door, inside your home. As you place it, speak these words. By the covenant of salt, this threshold is marked. Only what serves the highest good may enter here. Replace the salt every new moon. Do not reuse it. Bury it outside or dissolve it in running water. That salt has absorbed what was placed there to absorb. Application 2. Corner salt. In each corner of your main living space, place a small pile of salt. Not a bowl, just a small pile directly on the floor or on a dish. These become anchors. They establish a grid of protection over your home. Chosen ones who do this report that arguments decrease, sleep improves, and a tangible sense of peace settles over the entire household within 3 days. Application 3. Covenant salt for meals. Before eating, take a small pinch of salt and hold it in your palm. Close your eyes and remember, you are salt. This food is about to become part of your body. Speak silently. This meal is blessed by the covenant. It nourishes spirit and flesh. Then add the salt to your food. This is not about flavor. This is about alignment. You are not just feeding your body. You are feeding the divine spark within you. Application 4. Bathing salt. Once a week, add half a cup of salt to your bath water. As you soak, visualize everything that does not belong to your true identity dissolving into the water. The anxiety, the confusion, the identities others projected onto you. Salt water purifies. This is why tears are salty. This is why the ocean heals. Your body knows. Let it remember. Application 5. Blessing salt. Keep a small container of salt that you use only for blessing others. When someone you love is struggling, place a pinch of this salt in their hand and say, "You are remembered. You are covered. The covenant that protects me extends to you." You are not performing magic. You are activating kingdom authority that was always yours. Application 6. Travel salt. Before leaving for a trip, place a small amount of salt in a cloth or small bag and carry it with you. This was common practice among the apostles. Paul did this. Peter did this. They understood that the covenant travels with you. Your hotel room, your car, wherever you rest your head becomes sanctuary because you carry the salt of remembrance. Application 7. The declaration. This is the most powerful and the most hidden. Once a month, on the night of the new moon, take a bowl of salt and hold it in both hands. Speak aloud, "I am salt, I am covenant, I am kingdom. What God has spoken over me cannot be revoked. What heaven has assigned to me cannot be stolen. I stand in the authority of the one who called me before the foundation of the world." Then place that bowl in the center of your home for 24 hours. After that, distribute that salt using the other 6 applications. Let me tell you what to expect. The first sign is atmosphere shifting. Within 48 hours of applying covenant salt in your home, you'll notice that your space feels different. Lighter, clearer, more peaceful. Visitors will comment on it without knowing why. The second sign is clarity in decision-making. Confusion that has plagued you for months will suddenly lift. You will know what to do, when to move, when to wait. The third sign is protection manifesting. Things that should have gone wrong will not. Accidents that should have happened will be avoided. Attacks that were aimed at you will miss their target. The fourth sign is increased sensitivity. You will begin to notice when you walk into spaces that are spiritually heavy. You will feel the difference between clean atmospheres and contaminated ones. This is not paranoia. This is discernment activating. The fifth sign is others noticing you differently. People will start saying things like, "There is something different about you. I cannot explain it, but I feel safe around you." This is not your personality. This is the salt nature manifesting. The sixth sign is supernatural provision. Resources will appear exactly when needed. Not before, not late, exactly on time. The seventh sign is the enemy's resistance increasing. Do not be surprised if opposition intensifies in the first week. This confirms that what you are doing is working. The forces that want you asleep do not mind you attending church. They do not mind you reading your Bible. But the moment you activate covenant authority in your physical space, they must respond. Stand firm. The salt has already won. The weight of this revelation is not meant to crush you. It is meant to anchor you. For 17 centuries, the church structure insisted that you were merely a pilgrim, a supplicant, a beggar at the gates of heaven, dependent on their mediation for every drop of grace. They taught you to approach the divine with shame and uncertainty. But Jesus, in the privacy of that upper room, revealed a different truth. You are a cornerstone. You are the preservation. You are the covenant made manifest in the flesh. The bowl of salt on that table was not a passive symbol. It was a spiritual detonator, a physical object charged with instructions set for living under kingdom rule. The institutional system needed you to believe that spiritual authority resided in buildings, vestments, and titles. The salt covenant teaching pulls the authority out of the cathedral and places it back on your kitchen counter. It makes your dwelling place the new temple, and you, the ordinary believer, the high priest of your own household. This is the danger they saw, the reason for the systematic eradication. If you realize you can consecrate your own space, bless your own food, and mark your own boundaries, what need is there for the elaborate machinery of a religious hierarchy? Think back to the core warning. If the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? The term moranda, becoming foolish, becoming moronic. This is not about moral failure. This is about identity amnesia. The salt loses its flavor when you forget you are the salt. When you allow the world's narrative that you are average, that you are powerless, that your circumstances are final, to overwrite your kingdom blueprint. The moment you believe the lie of your own insignificance, you lose the energetic charge that is your birthright. The salt is still chemically present, but its covenant power is dormant. It has been thrown out and trampled underfoot by men, by the very systems that benefit from your powerlessness. To re-season the salt, you do not need a revival meeting or a new theological study. You need a simple act of remembrance and obedience. The practice of placing the salt is a physical act of saying, I remember what I am. I remember the covenant. It is a declarative action that brings your physical environment into alignment with your spiritual identity. Every grain of salt you place in your home is a tiny, silent altar. It is constantly broadcasting the frequency of the unbreakable covenant, pushing back the static, the noise, the lower vibrations of fear and scarcity that the world constantly attempts to inject into your space. The enemies of your peace, spiritual, mental, and relational, operate primarily through confusion and heaviness. They thrive in environments where the divine connection is abstracted and intellectualized. The moment you introduce a tangible, physical declaration of covenant authority, you make the atmosphere inhospitable to them. They cannot occupy a space that is actively vibrating with the frequency of preservation and purity. That is why the Desert Fathers kept it. That is why the persecuted communities cherished it. It was their invisible armor, their silent fortress. You have been handed a key that unlocks the sanctity of your everyday life. This is not a one-time ritual, but a continuous lifestyle of conscious placement and declaration. Look at the 7 applications again. They cover your physical space, threshold corners, your sustenance, meals, bathing, your relationships, blessing salt, and your journey, travel salt, the declaration. Jesus designed a whole life spirituality, a system where the sacred was integrated into the mundane, not separated from it. He showed you how to weaponize the ordinary for kingdom purposes. Do not allow the voice of skepticism, which is often the voice of fear dressed up as reason, to talk you out of this. You do not need to understand the molecular physics to benefit from the crystal's energetic properties. You only need to obey the instruction of the one who created both the physics and the crystal. The proof is in the peace it will bring, the clarity it will establish, and the protection it will manifest. Go beyond intellectual assent. Move into radical obedience. The hidden teaching has found you. The choice is now yours. Remain a seeker or become a steward of the authority you already possess. The moment you take the salt in your hand and make that first declaration, you are stepping out of the 1,700-year-long shadow of institutional control and into the direct, unmediated power of the salt covenant. Your home is waiting to be consecrated. Your life is waiting to be aligned. Remember, the bowl is in your hand. The authority is in your bloodline. The kingdom is in your home. Jesus did not teach this in synagogues. He taught it at tables, in homes, in private moments with those he called friends. The institutional church erased it because they could not control it, could not monetize it, could not use it to maintain their hierarchy. But the teaching survived in fragments, in whispers, in practices passed down through families who refuse to forget. And now it has reached you, not because you search for it, but because you are salt, and salt finds salt. Tonight, go to your kitchen, find your salt, hold it in your hands, and feel the weight of what you are holding. This is not a condiment. This is covenant. This is the physical substance Jesus said to keep in your home as a reminder of who you are and whose you are. If this teaching has activated something inside you that you cannot name, comment, "I am salt below." Let other chosen ones see your declaration. Subscribe to this channel because the teachings are coming go even deeper, like this video, so it cannot be hidden. 1 food, 7 applications, a covenant that cannot be broken. You were told to be salt. Now, you know what that actually means. The bowl is in your hand. The authority is in your bloodline. The kingdom is in your home. Remember,